So Elle and I watched this terrible ass movie called Strung. It's starring Chloe Bailey. I looked up the directors and the writers and I was like, oh, these guys are very up and down. Like they've either done some very good films or they've done some terrible films. It's Malcolm D. Lee and Alan B. McElroy. This movie is about this girl named Layla. She plays violin and she also teaches music, but you will never see her teach another child violin. All she teaches is piano. It's very weird. So the beginning of this movie, she's on stage performing and she starts seeing little phantom visions of this little girl like screaming for help. And then she looks down at her fingers and her fingers are all mangled and she blows her audition. She ends up meeting with this rich lady named Audra. And Audra's like, hey, I got a granddaughter. My granddaughter needs some tutoring and I think you can do it. But before all that, Layla goes to a club with her friends and they're like trying to hook up with some dudes and everything. And she sneaks off to go study and write music. And she sees this guy in a diner and they keep checking each other out. They end up hanging out and it's great. And she ends up going up to his room and they end up having sex. And he leaves her a nice little origami note for her. She's just like, oh my God, this is so perfect. So then she meets the lady Audra who wants her to tutor her granddaughter. So she gets to the place. The only help there is a lady who cooks and cleans, and she seems okay, and a driver who seems like a total dick for no reason. So she gets to the place, and as far as I know, all she's supposed to do is tutor this little girl. So she meets a little girl, her name is Zuri, and she's wearing this creepy ass mask, and she refuses to take it off. You end up finding out that her father, this rapper named RGB, was killed, and the daughter has been like traumatized ever since. Layla does have friends, like I mentioned, the ones she went to the club with, and only one of them she stays in constant contact with, named Jasmine. And Jasmine's like, oh, this all sounds pretty weird and everything. And she's just like, oh, no, it's awesome. She meets the wife, and the wife hates her immediately, like just automatic beef. And the wife is super pregnant, like she's going to give birth any moment. The father finally shows up, and it's the dude she fucked in the hotel room. And it's like, what? And he's like, hey, wait a second. Did you plan this all out and you're stalking me? And she's like, no, I didn't know you lived here. And it's just like, okay, quit the job. I know the job pays very well. I forget how much she is getting per week. It's a lot of money, but you don't need this drama in your life. Yes, you're sleeping on like friends' couches and stuff, but still, it's not worth this amount of drama. She doesn't have she has no common sense. That's what it is. She has zero common sense. So the movie goes on. As the movie progresses, there is way more tasks that she has to do. The little girl Zuri gets comfortable with her and she takes her mask off and starts speaking in riddles and shit. Layla's just like, oh, okay, that's pretty interesting. Anyway, play the piano. One day she's hanging outside with the little girl Zuri. A bee comes and she's like, oh, get away from me, bee. And Layla's just like, oh, it'll be fine. You know, it's more afraid of you than it is, than you are of it. And then the bee stings her ass and she gets the plague. She immediately, her skin starts getting black and veins start popping out immediately. And she finds her EpiPen and saves her. It turns out that her sister had an asthma attack and she wasn't able to save her. So she has like all this guilt about it. And also Zuri is allergic to earth. She has a very specific diet. She can't go near bees. Who knows what else this damn girl can kill her. I'm surprised they even let her outside to go to school. Speaking of which, she rides her to school one day with the chauffeur. This one, I'm just like, what is this girl's job other than tutoring? Because by this point, she's cooking, she's cleaning, she's literally serving food to everybody. She ends up washing the pregnant woman's belly and helping wash her legs in the bathtub. We thought that was going to turn into a whole freaky sex scene. She's like in the bathtub pregnant and being all freaky. And she's like, oh, have you ever been choked during sex? It's the best orgasm of your life. Later on, she ends up fucking the husband again, Layla. She ends up sleeping with this dude again. At this point, I'm just like, okay, fuck it. You're just stupid because there's no reason for you to be doing this. You're in their house. The wife's pregnant. You're tutoring the daughter. The grandmother is obviously evil. Whatever. So one day at the baby shower, because at this point, the wife has suspected that Layla's fucking her husband. And she sees a bruise on her neck from, I guess he specifically chokes you in a way that's going to leave a specific bruise on your neck. The wife's like, oh, bet. You're fucking my husband too. Okay, I get it. So the husband sets it up so that this music lady can hear Layla perform. and her violin sounds like shit. So she looks at it and it's all cracked in the back. You would have thought she would have like gone over and looked at her instrument before she started playing, but she doesn't. So she knows that it's the wife that did it, the pregnant wife. So at this baby shower, she starts screaming and flipping out, and they have to drag her away. And I was like, this is ridiculous. So Layla ends up talking to the mother of the dead rapper, who's the father of the little girl Zuri. And she's like, she explains how the money is being taken away and not used in the way it should be for the child and everything. It's confusing. It doesn't really make that much sense. So now Layla's trying to solve this mystery, and she just happens to listen to the one song from this rapper that gives a clue that a cassette that he recorded of him and Marcus, who's the father, like ended up having him killed. So she goes to pack up and leave, and they're like, bitch, we know what's going on. Because Layla also found out that Marcus was eating out grandmama. Literally, he was eating out grandmama. It was not sexy. This movie is supposed to be an erotic thriller. It is not a thriller, nor is it erotic in any way. So they find out, that she knows the truth and everything, and they end up poisoning her. They plan on poisoning the granddaughter because they're like, okay, the granddaughter is going to be dead. So when the son is born, you're going to somehow inherit all these millions from this rapper. So the pregnant woman's unconscious upstairs. The little girl's supposed to be unconscious because grandmama gave her some poisoned food. And Layla, they have a whole thing where it's supposed to be like, oh, she was so distraught about everything that's going on that she drove off a cliff. So they have the butler / hitman take her, and he's supposed to drive her car off the cliff. She ends up fighting back and killing him, makes it back to the house. The pregnant woman wakes up hearing all the screaming and yelling. The grandmother ends up shooting Marcus and then fighting with Layla, the chandelier, because they kept saying something about like pointing out the chandelier. I was like, it's going to crush somebody. Chandelier comes down, crush and kills grandmama. But this is after they fucked up Layla's hands. They like literally bent her fingers back and everything. Fast forward, it's like maybe a week later. This little girl who saw her stepfather shot and killed and her grandmama crushed by a chandelier is playing piano at this recital like nothing's happened. The pregnant woman's had her child and is sitting in the theater with everybody. Layla's sitting there with her best friend and her fingers wrapped up. And it's like, ta-da! And then she sees like a vision of the grandmother. I don't know why, but she sees a vision of the grandmother. And that's how the movie ends. This was a terrible ass movie. Like the acting was bad. The writing was bad. The music was horrible. I don't understand who I was supposed to feel sorry for, because you could feel sorry for like, oh, fuck, she was sleeping with this married man and she didn't know. But once she finds out, everything that happens after that is all on her. And the fact that the grandmother and Marcus made this elaborate plot, like, did they know that Layla was going to go to the club that night with her friends and then go to the specific diner and they're going to be playing music back and forth with each other on the jukebox? It makes zero sense. This is a terrible ass movie. I thought this was my first zero film of the year. It's not. That was Greenland Part 2. This is another 0 out of 10 movie.